Good morning. It's been a while. I'm waiting to get loaded, so I thought I would make this quick video. Today is December 11th, this morning, December 11th. And gold right now is at $4,215.70, and silver is at $62.14. And the gold to silver ratio right now is $67.83. And I find that kind of funny because I don't know if anybody saw my last video where I was talking about the ratio and I wanted to trade some silver for gold, but ultimately I decided not to do it. I believe it was 74, the ratio, and now it came down, and now I have to be serious. I'm seriously considering it. I'm thinking about how low does it have to go before I would actually do it, and then who would be willing to do it, because there's some people that are willing, but I'm going to end up losing out in the process. So, I don't know. I guess we'll just see what happens. That being said, I have to say, all the speculators are saying how silver's going up, and they're enjoying it. And don't get me wrong, I'm enjoying it too. I'm happy that silver's going up, but at the same time, I know when silver goes up, that means the dollar goes down. And if the dollar's going down, then we're in serious trouble, And history is a great indicator. I mean, this isn't the first time this has happened throughout history, So Germany's a great example of that, how one day you had all this money in the bank, and the next day you had nothing. The dollars were just worthless. And that's basically where we're headed right now. So it's a little happy and scared at the same time, or sad, But regardless, we know this is going to happen. We know this is going to come to pass according to the scripture. It says the money's going to be worthless. It's just going to be in the streets. That's what the Bible says. And that it won't deliver us, So, yes, I buy gold and silver whenever I can afford to. And obviously it's getting harder and harder to afford to now. But that being said, I don't have my faith in gold and silver. I know I've said this before, but I do it because I'm wanting to prepare for that little gap between the collapse of the dollar and the initiation of the mark of the beast. So once the mark of the beast comes, that silver and gold is going to be worthless. It ain't going to be, good for anything. But that little space in between, that's where I'm going to use it, and help people and help my family, do whatever I can, But regardless of that, we got to keep on living life to the fullest, right? And the thing that freaks me out a little bit is, it's not like I've been doing this for a long time. It's been relatively recent, right? And but now that I'm learning more, I'm telling everyone about it, right? And my wife told me that I probably should stop doing that because she's worried somebody's gonna try to break in. And I get that, and I've heard other people say that as well. But I also learned how to diversify, how to hide your money, right? You don't keep it all in one space, at your house. You find people you trust, you separate it, you spread it, you bury it, you hide it in different places where nobody will look, right? So, and then of course, I have no trespassing signs and, castle law. I live in Texas, so, there's a lot of deterrence for people. And I know I keep on hearing where people say, well, your stuff is more important than somebody's life, and I pray that I never have to take somebody's life, but at the same time, I'm going to protect my family, and no matter what you're there for, I'm going to assume you're there to harm us, and I'm going to defend my family, and I believe that's biblical. But that being said, back to the subject, I freak out that I'm learning this stuff, and I'm telling everybody to prepare, and nobody's really preparing. Now, granted, if you're in debt, it's almost impossible for you to prepare, and that's what they want. They want us to be in debt. And I tell everybody, get right with God. Number one, get right with God, because without Him, you're not going to make it through this life, After that, get out of debt, because if you're in debt, you're a slave to it. You're a slave to debt. And I've been there. I've lived paycheck to paycheck. Nobody could tell me, well, you don't understand my situation. I've been there. I've had my lights turned off. I've made very, very stupid decisions with my money in the past. It burned a hole through my, pocket. I think I've shared this example before, but when I first got married, I had the money to pay the light bill, and a friend was selling a guitar because I played guitar, and I decided to buy the guitar, and the lights got turned off, and stupid decisions like that I made, and I think I'm a little better now with my finances, and I sacrificed to get out of debt, and really all I have left is a car payment and very, very minute debt. I'm talking a couple of $100, that I could pay off pretty quickly, but that's about it. We need to get out of debt, and the reason I'm saying I'm freaking out is because, and I don't know if I've shared this before, but the story of Joseph interpreted the king's dream, the Pharaoh's dream, and told him they're going to have 7 years of plenty and then 7 years of famine. The people knew this. Egypt knew what was going to happen. Canaan knew what was going to happen. Nobody prepared. And so when the famine came, people were going to get food from Egypt and using their money until their money was all used up. Then, when their money was used up, then they started using their livestock. And when their livestock was used up, then they used their land and themselves. They became slaves to Pharaoh, basically. So, I think, well, maybe they don't. I was going to say, I think people know what's coming, but maybe people don't know what's coming. It's a clear indicator when you look at the dollar as it's starting to go down. You listen to, and I'm not political, okay? I used to be, not anymore. The way I look at it, right wing, left wing, same bird. It doesn't matter who's in office. The same outcome is going to happen. It's going to happen in a different direction, but we're still going to get to the same finish line, okay? Because, again, the presidents are just puppets, But regardless of that, the dollar's collapsing. The things that I hear the presidents say, all the presidents in the last few years, the last couple of presidents, they've been leading us towards the digital currency, towards the mark of the beast inevitably. And, so watching all that is one of the things that started me preparing, and I'm far from being as prepared as I wish I was. I wish I could be more prepared, but I started too late. But it's better late than never. So even you right now might be thinking, well, even if I wanted to get silver, it's $60 an ounce plus, right? Well, there's junk silver. You can get it cheaper. A lot of them are selling at spot. You got to shop around. You can find really good deals. A lot of places are selling silver at spot. Some are even selling below spot. And I couldn't understand that, but I actually asked somebody how they could do that, I'll give you an example. I bought a 1/10 ounce of gold, which hopefully I'll have time to make a separate video on that. But I bought a 1/10 ounce of gold, and based on the gold that I've bought, and a lot of it is Goldbacks. I started off with Goldbacks. If you're not familiar with that, it's a fractional gold, like a really, really minute amount of gold, and the premiums are pretty high. Honestly, an ounce of gold I just told you was, what was it, 4,215. With all the fractional gold that I've bought, and that final 1/10 now equals an ounce. I have 1.06 ounce of gold. The total that I've paid, and this has been like a year and a half, or maybe 2 years of purchasing little pieces, right? Like I'm talking grams, and the biggest I have is a 1/10. Anyway, all that together, I've spent $6,000, just to give you an example. So $6,000 when the value of a 1 ounce is $4,000. So I need gold to go up $2,000 to break even. But I did it just because I know gold holds value. Silver is volatile, and gold holds its value. So anyway, I kind of got off subject there, but we got to prepare, right? We got to prepare for what's coming. And we got to be smart with our finances, with getting out of debt. Food, if you can get food that will last long, right? Because obviously I'm not going to buy bananas to last for 10 years because they're not going to. Obviously you can dehydrate and all that stuff, but for the most part, there's certain foods you can't buy and there's certain foods you can. Many of you know I had chickens. I just got rid of a majority of them. I work too much, so I'm not really there enough to take care of them. So I kind of consolidated. So I have 5 chickens left. I think I can maintain 5 chickens. I hope. Anyway, but yeah, I'm just thinking of Joseph, the story of Joseph, and we got to prepare. It's sad that the school system didn't teach us finances, and I think that was all part of the plan. Okay, the church doesn't teach us about finances. As a matter of fact, I don't think I've ever heard the church talk about money other than tithes. And that's a different subject, and I'm sure I'll make a lot of people mad if I start talking about that, which I don't really care. But if you study the Bible, you'll see what I see. But anyway, but as far as financial freedom, and I'm not talking about the name it and claim it, or the what is that called, that prosperity gospel. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about preparing to take care of yourself, take care of your family, and take care of your parents. We're supposed to take care of the widows. We're supposed to take care of the fatherless. All these things that believers are supposed to do, and we don't do it. We let the government do it. That's ridiculous. And well, I've talked about that before. I know y'all know my stands on that. But anyway, so like I said, I haven't made a video in a long time, and I just wanted to share just some things I was thinking about right now, and I guess that's it. Can't really think of anything else. I know that there was something I saw in the markets that just jumped out at me, and I wanted to make a video about it, and then a couple of days passed and I forgot what it was. But I know it had something to do with the petrodollar. I heard one of those analysts or whatever talking about it, and I was blown away because I always assumed that was the case, but I never actually thought it was. But I forgot the details. So sorry. And anyway, is there anything else that I want to say? Can't think of anything else. Let me talk about work a little bit. So when you're out of debt, you're free. Okay, and the reason I say that, it frees you up to where you can work your job, right? And I when I left my job, I left it. And many of you know this, but I left it because I was tired of the micromanaging. I was tired of the craziness. Basically, there's this thing called quiet firing, and I have all these years of leadership training, and I know what quiet quitting is. I know what quiet firing is, and it was very obvious that that's what was happening. And I had some pride in me still that I needed to get over, and the pride that I had was, well, I'm not gonna leave. They're gonna have to fire me. But at what expense? It was my health. I was losing my health. I was losing my sanity. It was dumb. And I concentrated on getting out of debt, which I did, thank God. And that gave me a freedom. And actually, I got convicted. Somebody was telling me about that, that the Bible talks about pride, and it hit me like just bricks, and I thought, wow, you're right, and that was pretty much when I determined that I was going to be leaving soon. After I got out of debt, and I made good money through the years, with Aramark. I think Aramark was where I started making like double, almost triple what I was making before I went to Aramark. Unfortunately, at that time, I wasn't very good with my money. It's like the more you make, the more you spend, and that's what I was doing, and I totally regret it. I wish somebody would have taught me, you know what I mean? And I always say I'm not a financial advisor, because you have to say that, but man, if you have a question, especially those of you that know me, if I can help you, I'll help you, because these are things that I learned that I wish I knew, and we need to be able to help each other. We need to teach each other these things. But again, I'm not a financial advisor, but if I can help you, I will. Anyway, so I left there, and I basically did a budget, and I determined, based on what the bills going out were, that I can make at a minimum $18 an hour at 40 hours a week. And when you think about it, that's a lot of freedom. And I know some people that's what they make. You know, some people make less than that, and I get it. I get it. The bills keep on going up. Everything keeps on going up except the pay. It's crazy to me. But again, the economy has to collapse. It's how the mark of the beast gets here. But anyway, so I had figured that out, and that's what I started looking for as my bare minimum. Okay, and then I also have my CDL, right? So I knew I had options. So I unfortunately I used to have my pest control license. I had that since 2001, and I let it go when I got my CDL. I kind of regret that. I should have kept it as well, because I don't know if I could pass that test again, to be honest. But anyway. It is what it is, right? So, my point is making yourself more valuable. Learn more. That's one of the things I love about this job that I'm at right now, because look at what I'm doing right now. I'm making a video because I'm waiting. And with the downtime, I listen to audiobooks. I listen to things that help me learn more and grow more. And I decided I need to learn Spanish a lot better. I know Spanish, I understand it, but I don't speak it very well. But I want to learn it. I want to be more proficient in it. So I started listening to Spanish audiobooks and stuff, and I'm kind of sort of learning more, but I'm just going to have to continue to listen to them as I'm driving and stuff, right? It'll take time. I'm a very slow learner. Anyway, so back to the work. So quiet firing, for those of you that don't know, basically they start to micromanage you. They start to control your staff. If you're in a leadership role, they start to control your staff, moving your staff without your knowledge, giving orders to your staff without knowledge, treating you like you're a regular employee instead of a salaried employee, changing rules. You know, today the rule is one way, tomorrow it's changed. You know, just constantly making your life as hard as it could be, and it's almost like a cancer, to be honest. And complaints, well, they go on deaf ears, and really and truly all they do is paint a target on your back. And it's sad, because I know a lot of people that have very serious accusations against higher ups, but they don't want to say anything because they have bills to pay. You know, they have a family to take care of. And management, upper management, thinks that, oh, well, look at everybody's happy, they work here, you know. But that's not always the case, you know. I'm a big believer. If you take care of your staff, they will take care of you. And I have put that into practice, and I've seen it. I've seen it work, you know. And ultimately, I believe in the golden rule: treat people the way you want to be treated. You know, I'm not going to treat people ugly or anything. I'm not a slave master. They work for me, but they don't have to be there. They could be anywhere. And that, you know, I constantly try to teach my staff everywhere I've worked to know their value, to grow, to learn, to, you know, things that you learn even if you didn't want to learn it, but you learned it. Hey, now you have something to add to your resume, you know. Adding value to yourself on your skills, you know. And I love to remind people, I believe that, I don't know if I could say that, I believe that C-19, if you know what I mean, I believe that was a practice run. And if you notice, the important, or what, I forgot what the word they used, but the people that had to be at work were all the blue collar workers, you know. And upper management didn't have to, because what purpose did they serve? You know, I thought that was funny. Even at my previous employment with all the micromanaging, I started to get to the point, well, if you're going to micromanage my team, then what do I need to be here for? You know, I almost felt like the middleman that served no purpose, and I am a very purposeful person. You know, I like to see outcomes of tasks that not only I do, but my staff does. And I like to encourage them to grow and learn more, right? And I taught them leadership skills. Again, everywhere I've worked, I've always taught my staff leadership skills, because ultimately they are leaders. And I know a lot of people, I can't think of that word right now, where they look down on themselves, but it's stepping out by faith, truly, and knowing your value. You can do it. You can do anything you want to do. There's nothing that limits us but us, you know, truly. You know, I never thought I would be in a place that I was at. I mean, I moved up. Almost every job I've ever had, I've moved up. And it's not because of me or who I am. excuse me, who I am, it's because greater is He that's within me than he that's in the world, right? But at the same time, too, I know when my time is running short that I need to move on. So I have nothing against that place. I really don't. I'm not angry about it. I'm angry at the situation that happened, but I'm happy with what I did while I was there. I had an awesome staff. I really did. And yeah, so it is what it is. So now I'm obviously driving a truck with my CDL. I'm truly enjoying it. I work with great people. I'm not in a leadership role anymore, so I love that too. I don't have to stress out. I don't have to be on call 24/7. So it's been pretty great, and the hours are long, but in the oil field, when I was in the oil field, the hours were long, but the difference between the oil field and here is I get to come home every day, so that's awesome. I guess I'm going to leave it there. I can't think of anything else, and I've gone way longer than I wanted to. So, as usual, I'm going to say, get right with God, get out of debt, and if you can, buy gold and silver. God bless you. Go home, read your Bibles.